Hello, I'm Tommy Moore from the Bartitsu Lab, and I just wanted to take some story time to show you some of my latest cool weapons. Like many of you, I like collecting nasty, horrible things because they're fun. So, I will show you some of the latest additions. First one by Davidson leather. This is a sap. It's called the Ulster, I believe modelled after Northern Irish police saps. You've got this strap here, which you put your hand through, secure like so. It's a relatively small, concealable, and therefore like an undercover police kind of sap. It's got a thick, hardened leather edge around the outside and a relatively robust weight at the end. Now, a couple of ways to use this. So, if you're going for forehand or backhand strikes and you really need to mean it, using the edge as a striking surface, like so, is a very good way to cause accurate pain and damage. You can be striking with these down jawbones, across the temple, on the collarbone, elbow, wrist, hands. Hard bony surfaces using this edge are really, really beneficial. So this is the palm sap, Davidson leather, makes fantastic, fantastic tools like this. Relatively secure. You know, one of the main things about small blunt weapons is they're relatively easy to take off your person. If you haven't knocked someone out with it fast, it's easy to get it off you. It can quickly go from my weapon to our weapon in any confrontation or any grapple. So this little retrenching strap here, this is perfect, fits into the hand nicely, still small enough to be concealable, and you can hit with the edge if you really mean business, or if you wish to use it in a more sap-like format, and it is a sap, you'll notice that on a sap you've got a weighted end, and then this is leather, and this has some give to it. If you place your thumb flat, like so, you get a really good backhand slapping, whipping kind of motion. And this is one of the primary functions of the sap. In that hitting with the edge, this is essentially using it as a small, hard truncheon. It has no give. When you hit it with the edge, it has no real give. So you mean business. When you slap with the sap, whether it's around the jaw, around the head, around the back of the head, or what have you, typically it's best with the thumb flat, so you can really belt it in. It's hard to slap it making a full fist. It's easier with a thumb assist, like so. And you strike. Typically, if you're striking that way, it's more of a surprise, kind of sucker punch kind of attack, or you're attacking someone from behind. You come up from behind, bang, around the back of the head. It's an old school way to use it. But this is the Ulster by Davidson leather, and I really, really love it. Exquisite, exquisite craftsmanship. Move on to some of the more recent toys. This is my Smatchet. Smatchets are like hen's teeth to get hold of. You can get hold of cold steel versions. I'm not massively keen on those myself personally, and you can get some rather expensive customs. This Smatchet was made for me by Michael Crane, who is a up-and-coming bladesmith, again to make some of my more custom materials, and I asked for a rough and ready Smatchet. I didn't want anything with any frills. I wanted a tough, hard bastard Smatchet. So this is the Smatchet. As you can see, leaf-shaped blade. It's got a pretty robust handle here, pretty solid pommel. Comes to a nice sharp point, sharp on either side. This is just a lovely combative tool. Feels very, very light in the hand. For a large knife, it feels very, very light. I can throw this at about 6 to 8 feet and it goes into a target solid. It's not designed for that purpose, but it does fly. So it's not too weighty of a tool, but it feels robust enough. And the Smatchet, very, very famous from Fairbairn, and how Fairbairn taught to use the Smatchet, looking at things like saber cuts. So very much forehand, backhand blows, cuts and thrusts. You've got a versatile all-round fighting tool here. And like the Fairbairn Sykes knife, the FS models 1, 2, 3 and so on, they are an assassination knife, really. Up front, face to face, the Smatchet is just a lovely, wicked tool. So I really like the Smatchet. I would say I prefer it over the typical Fairbairn Sykes fighting knife. I think this is a brilliant weapon. I'll soon be commissioning and having a Cobra made, which is Fairbairn's kind of last design of knife. God knows how that comes across as a riot police weapon. That's absolutely mental, but the Cobra will be next on my acquisition list. But the Smatchet, as made by Michael Crane, is brilliant. I love it. It's well balanced. It's got decent heft, it's light enough to be thrown, it's very light to carry, which is very nice and very, very useful. It fits very snug in the hand. It prevents me from slipping by these little nodules here. I really, really like this tool. The scabbard, made for me by a craftsman called Kindred Willer, and I'll put the links to the various craftsmen and artists in there. But the Smatchet is a lovely, lovely, lovely tool. And it smells amazing because the knife is new and the leather is new. Both of those smells are gorgeous. We then move our way through to this little beauty. Now this little beauty is essentially an SOE thumb knife, the SOE kind of spies and secret agents of World War II. As you can see, it's got a leather casing, again by Kindred Willow here, and these can be sewn into any number of areas, inside a lapel, inside the inside of trouser leg, inside a pocket, inside a sleeve, wherever is most convenient to pull out for you. And the areas of convenience will vary depending on the type and manner of the dress of the role you're playing. If you're playing a mechanic, if you're being a diplomat, if you're being something else, what you wear will change. So these little knives, they're designed to be stitched into an appropriate area for you to be able to quick draw and deploy. Again, what is the purpose of this? The purpose of this is to unlock something that shoots, something that goes bang, or as a weapon of last resort. It's not a fighting knife. It's an assassination knife, or at the very least an escape knife. So the thumb knife, pull from here. Imagine that this is stitched in to my sleeve, to my lapel, to my trousers, into the waistband, wherever. So it's a very small profile. And you end up with this lovely little knife. This lovely little knife, very, very ubiquitous as a World War II SOE knife. Some of the best ways to use this, I find, is with a solid pinch grip. So you've got a solid pinch grip between your forefinger and your thumb. And once you've drawn this, essentially your options are relatively limited. And for me, they are limited to the eyes and the arteries in your throat. You can get kind of subclavian, brachial and so on, but in reality, eyes and throat are the areas of choice for this particular weapon. And I see this very much like using a key. You jam the key in the door, you turn it, you pull it out. Pretty much that's how I envision using these. So again, this may come with an attachment, so grabbing an opponent, swiftly plunging this into the eye, into both eyes, into an eye and then an artery, a twist and return. Because it's got a low profile as a blade, the twist just adds extra exit wound damage. So once it goes in, you want to create some carnage on its way out. And it's quite a natural movement to do. Once it goes in, turns out. It's very easy for this to become lost in the hand. This has kind of reinforced grooves and grip for me, but still you want to keep a very tight grip on this. Punch it in, twist out, punch it in, twist out. Much of this, using this, will rely on your empty hand work too. So if you think about chops and then stabs, grabs and then stabs, being able to manipulate a person is very important, because unless you're very, very fast, it's going to take a little while to take someone out with this. Now in reality, this is a strike, stab, grab, and then you do something else. You get their weapon, you attack them with another environmental object, you do something else, you choke them, what have you. But this is your immediate first trauma giver. So this is an SOE thumb knife for intelligence operatives. You whip it out, punch it in, rip it out, repeat that process or move on to something more effective as dictated by the situation. But these are lovely, wicked little knives. So again, this made for me by Michael Crane, very good blacksmith. This lapel / sleeve sheath here, this was made for me by Kindred Willow. Perfect, perfect combination. Really lovely thing to experiment with as you practice World War II combatives. So if you've recently bought my book, this might be a thing you want to invest in, just to play around with it, playing around with micro knives and what can be done. There are other things, some people hold them like this. I don't really like it. It can slip through the grasp. For me, it's this particular drive in, punch out. With the same discipline you would throw with a punch, you throw with this. Other people I've seen have it kind of like this, like a pecking motion, which is okay as long as you've got the height advantage on your opponent. I often do, because I'm a tall, big guy, but in reality I much prefer it held like this, nice and simple. In, hit, in, grab, hit again. These are causing maximum damage with minimum profile of a weapon. And then finally, a very exciting weapon. So in this rather loving roll case here. So, inside the roll case are these two knives. Just show you here. Okay, now this roll sheath was made by Kindred Willow as well. Really love it, really love it. Makes you feel like a surgeon of doom. And these knives, there's a chap in America called Jacob Widmer and Silas the Bladesmith. And the two of them invented a knife called the Alcatraz knife. And the thinking behind it is, you see it's almost like a slat, like a bed slat. So the point is, looking at prison bladesmiths, people that made shivs. And often they would take things that were in walls as support, or on beds or in frames, and you end up with a flat piece of metal. And what they'd do, they'd sharpen an end, they would add some grip, and instantly you've got a rather wicked shiv. Now I've had these made in a pair, like so. And there are a couple of really good features about this. One, these make excellent throwing knives. So you wouldn't expect it. They don't look like the most aerodynamic thing in the world. But a half spin and a no spin throw, they've got wicked, wicked penetration. They are very, very easy to conceal because they're flat. So you see, a flat profile means that when this is in my pocket, you can't see it. When this is against my wrist, you can't see it. You can't see it. So the benefit of a very flat kind of bar-like knife is it's got a very easy to conceal profile in the leg. The wickedly sharp point, like so. It's very easy to use. It does have some cutting ability here on the edges. So if I needed to, I could cut through things. I could cut through a small restraint for argument's sake. But in reality, this is a thrusting shanking tool, of which you've got a slightly longer variant. If you imagine a slightly longer variant, put your hand on your heart. Can it reach in? You know, that's what you want to be looking at with a longer knife. Can it reach the most effective / dangerous places on the opponent? You know, a knife of this particular length it will get to those bad places, which sounds really grim, but there we go. So a longer blade, a more fighting style blade, and a smaller, more assassination type blade, but both very, very cool. They match the set. These are known as Alcatraz knives. Michael Crane made these for me, but they're absolutely the brainchild and invention of Jacob Widmer and Silas the Bladesmith. So if you're in the US, make sure you tap those guys up. I'll be putting links to everybody in the description. But these, I really, really like them. They throw very, very well. And they're just a cool piece of kind of a little bit of history, a little bit of modern invention. But I like it. I like the story of them. I like how they're modelled on things that the prison bladesmiths would have made. Very, very cool. Alcatraz knives. So, the Ulster sap, the Smatchet, the ubiquitous SOE thumb knife, and indeed the Alcatraz knives. Some of my more interesting toys at the moment. I've been doing a lot of unarmed stuff. I'll be showing some techniques with all of these in the very near future, but a little bit of knife porn to be playing with.